as always, by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. And welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot, presented by our good friends over at Little Caesars Pizza. We're Stay Hot. They're staying ready with some hot and ready pizza for you all NFL season long. We're here to recap week 10 of the NFL season. The AFC North has been hectic as always, so we will, of course, touch on most of those games. I don't think we're going to talk too much about Packers Steelers at Theo's discretion, but we'll talk about the rest of them, as well as we saw a little bit of Ritter in Kyler's return, so we'll talk about Ritter more so than Kyler. Yeah, I was trying to see how I could spin that to be more Ritter than Kyler, but no,
keep going.
Keep going. It was a good week of football. We're going to talk about some of the games. But before we get into that, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. I got a bird feeder that sticks to my window, like with suction cups, but no birds have come yet. So I've got to figure out how to let them know that it's there.
Candy.
I'm trying to think of what candy would be to a bird. Maybe something that's not just seed. Or like it needs to be a special treat, perhaps some dried fruit.
That would be good.
Mealworms.
Hey.
Or I think what I have to do is
great,
just
honestly.
dried fruit and mealworms. That would be a delicacy if you were a bird. I think I got to put up more feeders just in the trees and just get them to where they are in the trees, and then from there.
What are you putting in the feeders right now?
Just like Finch seed. You can get it at Ace Hardware.
Yeah.
So it's your pretty basic bird seed, nothing too crazy. But I think what I need to do is go to like the public trees and just hang up bird feeders and just increase birds in the neighborhood. And then from there, they'll come to my window. And then I can watch them while I work.
That sounds like a really good plan. Bird feeders kick ass.
Theo's out here listening to jazz music and feeding birds while watching film.
I'm creating an environment where I can thrive.
You're creating a vibe.
I am creating a vibe. I have to alter the outside world. That's the only thing I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do. Like, can I just put up bird feeders on city streets and bring more birds into the area?
I don't know. Maybe you should contact
if I nail one to a tree, are they gonna take it down? Or hang one up with a rope?
If they take it down, I think you live with that. But like, as long as they don't arrest you,
They can't. They simply can't arrest me for trying to feed the birds. So I think I'll be okay. But
yeah,
I'm not sure if I have the jurisdiction to put up any bird feeders.
Oh man. You've been feeding birds. Matt, how have you been doing?
I've been doing good. Just on my usual day-to-day routine.
Hey.
Trying not to think about the Panthers and the Hornets and all my horrible teams and all that. But Cincinnati got its first Big 12 win this weekend, so that's cool.
Yeah. They beat Houston, right?
Yeah.
Hey.
Big win for Emory Jones and the boys. Happy for him. Corleone had a sack. Doesn't get much better than that.
It does not. And Ohio State's fantastic.
I don't know what to think about them, man. I have no clue how good they really are. I could see them going and beating Michigan. I could see them going and getting blown out. What do you like? What type of game McCord is going to play? I have no idea. The receivers are
game. McCord is average. I am a big McCord fan. He always gets shit on.
It's like out of him. I don't need Justin Fields. I need JT Barrett.
I think he can give you that. I think that McCord gets overhated because he's not Stroud, but it's like, I don't know. I've seen for years and years and years mid-ass quarterbacks come in and win national championships on Alabama.
He's bad for an Ohio State quarterback. In the grand scheme of college football, he's
not that bad. He's not that bad.
Worse. Absolutely.
He's like very average, and everyone thinks he sucks. I'm a McCord stan. but not that I think he's that good. I just think that he's better than college football fans think that he is, because Ohio State quarterbacks are held to such a standard, which might be deserved. Like, it is a sick situation to be in.
I don't know what to think of the run game for Ohio State. It's all over the place, but Henderson's looked good, so you could be positive on that. The defense is great, but like, is Michigan going to be able to run on them? I don't know. What is J.J. McCarthy? I thought earlier in the year he was so awesome, but then they just like decided to completely not pass in the second half. And it's like, I guess, fair enough. But man, so I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm taking it one day at a time, as always.
Blaiden, what's with the mustache?
I got my haircut, and every time I get my haircut, I shave. And it's usually either I just trim back the goatee, I take everything off, but I've never gone with just a mustache. I thought I would try it out for a little bit.
Might as well try something new.
Yeah, I don't think it could hurt, but I am going to shave it before. I'm going to see Sophia Wednesday. She was not pro the mustache, so I'm going to shave it before I see her Wednesday.
So that's a nail in the coffin for the mustache. I'm afraid.
What's our first game that we're talking about here tonight?
I think we should start off with Bengals Texans. Last week during our midseason awards episode, I began the CJ Stroud for MVP narrative, and today everyone else has decided to jump on the bandwagon.
Another good game. Just a good defense helps.
It does. It does help.
Yes, Stroud. I mean, how much more is there to say that hasn't been said already, and that the numbers don't just show you point blank, period. He had a couple questionable moments in this game. Rookie mistake on the pick. Yeah. Tank Dell there was a bad throw that resulted in Dell getting absolutely murdered, to the point where I thought it was going to be one where they cut to commercial, and by the time they're back, like, the ambulance is on the field and like everybody's taking a knee around him. I couldn't believe that he jogged off the field and came back into the game. He got crunched.
He's a trooper.
He's Tank Dell, I guess. Yeah. He's
named.
So there were like a couple rookie mistakes, but overall, like, Stroud himself also got killed, but it didn't affect his pocket presence. Like, he didn't get jittery after that, even though the Bengals were delivering some big blows earlier in the game. Like, he stood in there and, again, very aggressive down the field. Tons of explosive plays for the Texans, and they have something in Noah Brown. 170.
He had 170 yards, dude. He was nasty, man. He's been in the league a long time.
Yeah,
he's been in the league forever, man. This is like year 7 of Noah Brown. He? Yeah, he had a pretty okay season with Dallas. I think he had like 500 yards. He was not a non-factor, although that was his first year over 200 yards. So he's been kind of a late bloomer. Granted, I feel like he came out of college a little early. I thought he was going to stay another year at Ohio State, and he didn't. But yeah, he killed it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed his film too. It's been some really dominant wins. I think that, like, his physicality has impressed me. There was a big play that he had. He was a great deep threat, and I think that he's done a good job dealing with physicality down the field. Like, he kind of slowed up and boxed out and made a catch through contact, kind of cross in the middle of the field. And then at the end of the game in crunch time, he was able to bounce off tackles and really get him down the field and into scoring range. Like, him and Nico Collins are kind of your physical guys, and then you got Tank with the speed and Dalton Schultz banging underneath. Like, it's a physical, it's a tough group to deal with, and but still, to make Noah Brown look like a superstar is MVP type of behavior. It is elevating everybody that's around you from Stroud, and the offensive line is starting to get some traction on the ground as well. After a really banged up beginning of the season, they've started to work their way back, and even without Dameon Pierce, it's Singletary with like 130 yards this week. The offense is like scary good right now. I mean, to go up against a really good Bengals defense and a really good coordinator in Luana Rumo, and be amazing in the air and on the ground in your first year with this head coach quarterback pairing, I think they really cemented themselves as a maybe not a top team in the AFC, but damn, like if they're better than the Bengals and
and we'll talk about, the Browns and Ravens later, but like, who are the top teams in the AFC, right? It's like
they both lost today, really,
right?
And the Browns are up there too, and one of them won. Like the Browns are up there, but so are the Texans, really.
Right, so it's like the Texans, the Chiefs, but it's like the Chiefs receivers aren't good. It's just like Mahomes and the defense. The Bills, do you trust the Bills that much? Probably not.
No.
Miami probably.
If you're putting together a tier list, you've got to put the Texans in tier 2. I think you've got a very real argument to put the Texans above Miami if you're doing a power ranking. I mean, the Texans beat the brakes off the Jaguars. They beat I guess they didn't beat the brakes off the Bengals, but they were in control of that game really the whole way through and beat them. You know, what win do the Dolphins have like that if we were going to make it, kind of college football like with the quality wins? It's like Dolphins don't have any. Texans have a winning record and have a couple big ones. Like you might even put them ahead of Miami. You could put them ahead of the Bills. You could put them ahead of, I think you could put them ahead of a lot of teams. Like you could argue it.
Yeah. I mean, they're right there. They're right there in the mix. The only thing that's going to, I don't know if they can quite win the division, but they're not.
They can totally win the division.
I don't understand. The Jags are 6-3. They're 5-4. Yeah, I mean, I think
it might be in reach. I think possibly.
They play the Jaguars, and they beat the Jaguars by 20 the last time they played. So, yeah, I mean, it's if we want to talk about the Jaguars for a second, like what an atrocious performance and a passing offense that we keep waiting to get off the ground. I know. Really, like this whole year. And they went undefeated through the month of October. So I thought maybe, that it doesn't get much better than undefeated through the month of October.
They weren't cute wins. They weren't this is the Jaguars we were expecting,
Yeah, it was never like, oh my God, Calvin Ridley, just the superstar we envisioned. And that's really the key to the season is like have that guy be a 1A, have that guy be the Diggs, the AJ Brown, like have that type of effect on Trevor Lawrence and bring him to the next level. Lawrence really hasn't made a jump from where he was last season, and that still does need to be made for him.
It does. He's very good, but he's not. There's like a consistency with him that isn't quite there yet. And he can still have some stinker plays that cost him. They don't have much time to figure it out. I mean, looking at their schedule, it's Titans next week, which, not a gimme. Titans can set some teams tough. But then they go Texans, Bengals, Browns, Ravens. And that's, are you serious in the AFC or not time?
Yeah, that's a brutal stretch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've been able to give like ETN the ball in the perimeter in the last couple games, and that's really been their best play. Like when all else fails, it's like, okay, let's get the ball to ETN and have them do something. But they can't bang them between the tackles. Like their guard play is too bad. Like their interior offensive line play is too bad for them to do that. And then like dropping back and passing, it's just been blech. Like the offensive line has been blech. Lawrence has made some really bad like careless decisions with the football, and it perhaps has been too aggressive. Sometimes like all those almost touchdowns that happened at the back of the end zone, like if your wide receivers can't do it, your wide receivers can't do it, so perhaps like if it's not happening, you kind of got to dial it back. But
my question is, are they doing it in practice and then they're just not following through in the game?
I don't know. I guess he has to stay aggressive because they don't really, they can't matriculate down the field super well either. It's just that Ridley trade not really working out just means that they are the same team they were last year, and they were a wild card. Or I guess, did they win that division last year? Who won it? Colts. It wasn't them.
No, they
won. They ended up winning. Yeah. So, but they won it with what? 9 games. It was an easy division. It's like they need to be more than that. And this year, I don't know. They just haven't taken any kind of leap on offense. So, and the Texans are just killing it. So
right. All this to circle back to the Texans. I mean, they had, what was the stat? They had the most explosive plays today in the last like 20 some years.
Yeah, Nate Tice dug that up.
A ridiculous number. And Stroud gets it done in like every way imaginable. That's the thing about him, man. It's like, this is what I was talking about. Like, he's the most, I think I brought this up last podcast. He's like the most well-balanced quarterback in the NFL, man. And there's plays where he knows when to run, and his ability to create and sort of roll out of the pocket like you saw against Georgia last year has been fantastic. He's aggressive in the right spots. He's incredibly accurate when he's aggressive.
And the accuracy is really what allows him to be the well-rounded. It's like accuracy on anything. Like the deep throw accuracy is there, the intermediate, short, on the move. Like the fact that he just never loses that, no matter what is going on, that is really what makes it. What, like, the whole thing is just Stroud can just put it anywhere at any time, and that's
his superpower, is the accuracy.
Yeah.
Right. And then he's very good at everything else. It's not like he's the fastest guy or he has the biggest arm necessarily, but he's got all the pieces there. And then when you can just put it, on anybody, it's like everyone's open all the time. You can hit pretty much anything. If they give you an inch, you can get it. And it's just incredibly tough to deal with.
Yeah, that play where he like steps up and then turns his back to the defense. I mean, how many quarterbacks are completing a pass on that play? Like 2?
How many?
Stroud and Mahomes? Like,
no. There's no pass that Stroud completes that I think Josh Allen is incapable of completing. Or
I guess that's I mean Allen, but I mean
I don't even know if I like that way of judging.
I've never seen Allen make that many moves behind the line of scrimmage, like run all the way across the field and then throw a dime. Like, I've seen Allen make some crazy
Jameis Winston did that today.
I guess that's fair. Jameis Winston did. Jameis was on one though. Jameis had his like once in every 2 years masterclass performance,
but no one is this aggressive and avoiding picks, I guess, that he threw in today. But overall, it's just been 2 on the year, and with all the big plays that he's created and being able to avoid those crucial turnovers, I mean, that's what Rodgers used to do. Like that's what made him so dangerous. Is like, the accuracy is all over the place, or not all over the place. Like, the accuracy is great all over the place, and it just is never. There's never any negatives, and like you've just got a quarterback that wins 4 MVPs. It's like you look at Stroud and the pace he's on, and then on the other side of the ball, Burrow had kind of a Josh Allen-y type of game. Speaking of Josh Allen, he had that crazy throw to Chase rolling to his left. He had the crazy throw to Trenton Irwin down the field.
Dude, that throw got me up out of my seat, man. That's maybe the most on the money ball I've seen this year, where it's like, dude, you couldn't have frozen time and put it in his hands better.
Stingley sank knowing that he had the safety help, and he's got to be thinking there's no way that Burrow releases his ball. Like, he was right under it, and he had the safety help, and it was too perfectly placed.
Irwin went pretty close to the sideline, and Stingley's like, well, I got the safety help. He's already way inside. There's just no way. Like, you'd have to throw that exactly where it needs to be.
Bang.
Bad news.
Bad news. Yeah, it was... It wasn't a bad performance from Burrow, but he did have 2 interceptions. So, and they were kind of bad interceptions, like at key moments. So not necessarily taking care of the ball, but they put up 27 points. So
I know Will Anderson's been having a good year. Was he getting pressure in this game as well?
He had an absolutely filthy pass rush on Jonah Williams that I remember watching. I think an arm over. I remember seeing it, and I don't exactly recall what it turned into in terms. I don't think he got a sack, but I think he pressured him into maybe a 3rd down stop or some big stop or incompletion. So there was that. Jonathan Grenard is one of the more underrated players, I think, in the league right now. He was really disruptive the entire game. And then Sheldon Rankins dominated his matchup against Alex Kappa, who's a really good guard. And Rankins has been for years and years just a good mercenary. You hear about like kind of mercenary edge rushers that have been everywhere. Rankins is kind of becoming that at defensive tackle, because I remember watching him on the Jets last year. Yeah, I'm like, he's very disruptive. On the New Orleans Saints, he was a pretty disruptive pass rusher from the defensive tackle position, and now in Houston, I just feel like he's been solid everywhere he's been, but he can't quite lock down that long-term contract anywhere. And today, he really came up clutch. So the entire pass rush, not just Anderson, but Collins, Rankins, and Grenard, gave the Bengals offensive line plenty of issues, and then they were without Higgins as well. Yeah. And Boyd had the crucial drop, though. Oh my God, what a horrible drop that was in the end zone.
Yeah, but Boyd also had a really big catch.
He did. Burrow said it, like he was the reason that we were down there in the first place. But that doesn't matter, man. Like when that's Burrow like being nice. When it hits you in the face mask to win the game, and you just like you're the GOAT in a bad way.
You gotta catch it. Yeah. My take. I think the Texans win anyway. I think Texans get that. I think they were getting down the field no matter what.
Stroud is inevitable.
It might not seem like it because they kicked they barely got in the field goal range, sort of on like their last chance to do so, but that's only because they were sort of trying to play in between with the clock on that first set of downs. I think they would have gotten it done.
They very easily could have. I mean, it was kind of feeling like that towards the end of the game, where it was like both of these quarterbacks are just like elite. They're both top tier right away, and you score with too much time left against a guy like that. But still, like that doesn't excuse Boyd's
no,
drop.
It does not.
Yeah. Got to give them a chance at least, because they're definitely kicking a field goal.
Now, and then one more question about just Texans defensively, because I know they have some good players with Anderson, and the defensive line's been playing well, but this is the second game where it feels like it's come down to the wire, and they've given up a pretty substantial amount of points. What is their biggest problem right now on defense, do you think?
Oh, I think their secondary is still questionable. You look at their corner room. Stingley hasn't quite lived up to the hype as a first-round pick in terms of being on the field or constantly missing time. They just haven't been a great pass defense recently, and I think Will Anderson, maybe wasn't quite off to the. They haven't been able to finish sacks, I feel like, especially Anderson, like all the pressures and win rates that he has. Like it just hasn't turned into like a ton of pressures or sacks for him in terms of like PFF charting or just like general box score stuff. As good as I think that he is, like in terms of physical production as a pass rush, as a secondary, they just haven't been able to stop some of these quarterbacks. So I think that's the biggest problem. I mean, Baker obviously had Stroud needed a game winner, and he had like 400 yards. So I don't know. They were one of the worst defenses for as long as Lovie Smith was around, and it's not just a 1-year rebuild. There are still growing pains. Like as good as Grenard has been, and the pass rush has, I think, been at times this season. The linebackers in coverage, the corners, the safeties. The cupboard's still, not bare, but it could be a lot fuller.
Yeah.
They're ahead of schedule, and some of the roster construction still shows that for sure.
Yeah. Hey, we've been watching these, during these Tuesday live streams. We keep going back to this Bama game, and we see all their elite secondary players. Maybe they can snag.
No, they don't have a first round. Wait, no, they do have a first round pick because they have the Browns first round.
They have the Browns first round pick.
That's right.
But it probably won't. I don't know how
Arnold
high
guy for Bama. He had a whale of a game. He's a baller. There's some good corners this year. That Wiggins for Clemson. He can play too. He's really nice.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch his tape against Keon Coleman. I haven't been able to watch the all 22, but on broadcast every single time I've seen Nate Wiggins, he's been crushing it. And then I know that game was a masterclass, so I'm excited to dive into that. But they could use another corner, and I think that they could continue to upgrade at linebacker. You employ Perriman still, I believe, who's always better going forward than back. And yeah, it's just kind of how it goes with these rebuilds. You can't turn it totally around all the time or immediately.
Yeah.
Steph Curry makes you believe that you can do anything. I mean, look at me. He has me believing that I can shoot threes when I play pickup basketball. And the Curry 11s are specifically designed with ultimate bounce, grip, and stability to allow everyone to do their thing. New generations of ball players are coming up and showing the basketball world that the old rules do not apply. The future is exciting, fast, positive, and hungry. This NBA season, rock your favorite player and rep his shoes on and off the court. The Curry 11s are perfect for both the committed and casual ballers. The UA Warp Tech makes the shoe feel like it was designed for your feet, locked in no matter what you do on the court. Stop in your tracks with dual density UA flow cushioning and traction, an emergency brake that you don't even notice. Steph's 11th signature shoe steps into the second decade of his sneaker career, pulling colorway inspiration from the wonders of a positive and modernized future on and off the court. Take these kicks with you when you leave the scrimmage and rep UA wherever you go. Do your thing. Change the game. The Curry 11 Future Curry is available now at currybrand.com.
Well, if we want to move on to, I figure we don't want to hit, talk. We kind of already talked about the Jags a little bit. And I know we didn't want to hit that game too heavily, but a big game for the Niners to get back on track a little bit, coming off of 3 straight losses. They really needed this outing, but it's kind of an embarrassment for the Jags, which we already talked about.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it from the Niners' perspective, but we know what they're capable of accomplishing, and we know what this offense can do when they're healthy. And today was just a dunk on people day. Like Shanahan after the game said, I'm not going to lie to you, that first touchdown to Ayuk is the worst decision that Brock Purdy has made since he's been here. He threw it across his body into the middle of the field, just like a Hail Mary, like at the beginning of the game on like the first drive. And it was caught for a touchdown. So he's like, I thanked him for the touchdown, but I never, ever wanted to do that again. And it was just that kind of day. Like you could just throw it up, and Kittle had like three catches for 116 yards. He had another kind of just like Purdy. It's a good throw by Purdy, like really well placed, but just like, oh, Kittle's one-on-one. I'm putting it out in front of him. And like he was rumbling for a huge gain, and everything they did just worked. And in terms of their pass rush, Chase paid off like immediately. Had a huge win and forced a fumble. And I just don't understand how he went for less than Sweat. He has more moves. He has he's more of a threat around the outside shoulder. Like he's just as good of a run defender. Like he's a really good player. And overall, I thought that Steve Wilkes after the bye dialed up a better pass rush plan, which was basically like, we're just getting upfield. Like all these stunts, like, they're just a waste.
You got too many dudes to need to mess around with stunts all the time.
And their stunts were just badly designed. And in this game, I felt like it was just a bit more like, let's just pick a gap and charge through it. And if we get burned with a quarterback run or something like that, or if we're not baiting the quarterback and they know it's coming, like who cares if they know it's coming? You have Chase Young and Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa, and they all played fantastic today. And I did see some exotic blitzes as well, or more exotic than what I've seen. Like they had Nick Bosa in the A gap mugged up for some rushes early in the game, which I like to see. Just move him out of that right end spot or left end spot that he always moves into. So I thought that this was, I don't think it was a great defensive performance. It was a great defensive performance. They held the Jaguars to 3. And yeah, the pass rush looked extremely formidable. Secondary was locked down. I mean, you had Dre Greenlaw running with Christian Kirk like perfectly on this long crosser at one point in this game. Like it was exactly the type of game you'd expect based on they're the best team on paper, and it's not just on paper. So
yeah, they're damn good. It's funny that, Chase Young had a pretty good game today, because I remember watching the Thursday night game, and I keep hearing the announcers, they keep talking about Montez Sweat, and they're like, oh, here's Montez Sweat lined up on the left side. and he had like no production.
Dog, he's not been good this year. Like, he's got his long arm, and he like killed Trevor Penning with the long arm, and he can do it, but there's just not any metrics that suggest that he's an elite pass rusher. He's like outside the top 32 in pass rush productivity and win rate on PFF. And I look at the pass rush win rate double team chart that ESPN always puts out, and he's like in that bottom left-hand quadrant where you don't want to be. And then I turn on the film, and I don't want to spend the time shitting on him, but it's like Chase Young is a better player than Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat is long and powerful, and he can bull rush you, and he can long arm you, and he can defend the run. But Chase Young, I think, is a little bit of a different level. And
I know Sweat had some good moments where he set the edge decently well in the run game.
He's I don't want to shit on Sweat. It's too much, but just as a pass rusher, I don't think he has he's just not as formidable as Chase Young.
Montez Sweat is a Madden user legend because he's like super tall and he's super fast, so you just like move him to middle linebacker and then you just user him. But yeah, I don't think we need to spend too much time on the Niners. Just wanted to give
they're
them
back on top of the NFC,
nice
probably.
Back.
Well, maybe the
nice bounce back performance from the Eagles. I would still give that edge to. They had a bye this week. I would still probably give the Eagles the edge there. But the Niners are right there. They just needed to get back on track a little bit.
I would give the Niners the edge.
You would?
I think the Niners are the more complete team just because I think, I don't know, because the Eagles' offense has been so good recently.
I think Hurts is so much better than Purdy. It's like, and I think that matters a lot.
I don't disagree with that. I just think that the 49ers defense is a little better than the Eagles still. The secondary of the Eagles scares me a little bit, but so does Purdy and the kind of the.
I mean, are the corners in San Francisco anything to call home about necessarily?
No, and Wilkes hasn't been. We'll see if he continues to dial up the pressure and it's like this the whole rest of the way. But I don't know. I don't even have to give a take on this because it's going to work itself out in December when they play each other. So it's like, why should I even give it? Like, they're both really good, and we'll find out who's better. So it doesn't. I guess I don't care.
Yeah, we'll find out. And do they play each other in the regular season this year?
They do. It's I think it's a game late in the year.
December 3rd. That'll be a game. Yeah, that's
one of the best regular season games of the year. I think obviously that. And I think next week we got Bengals Ravens, which I'm super excited for. But now that they both lost, it may not be in game of the year consideration over that.
I fear.
This episode of Stay Hot is brought to you by Prize Picks. With the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LaMelo Ball plus Jonathan Mingo at a 10.5 combo of 3-pointers made plus reception, something like that. Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. And Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with this injury insurance policy. Go to prizepicks.com/stayhot and use code STAYHOT for a first deposit match up to $100. That means if you put in 50, they'll give you another 50. You'll have 100 in your account. You could put up 99 and they'll give you another 99. It's just up to 100. So it's a great deal. Go to prizepicks.com/stayhot. Use code STAYHOT for that first deposit match. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
We have to talk about Kyler Murray, his return today against the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, he cooked.
That third down run he had, man. Oh, my God, dude.
I thought the game was over. I was like, Falcons won, Ritter game-winning drive, Matt's Little Caesars player of the week. It's going to happen. And then Kyler Murray just backpacked the team. I was like, oh, my God.
He's nice, dude. And I think that Kyler coming in and playing well was a pretty predictable outcome, honestly. I thought he lived up to my expectations, but my expectations were pretty lofty for him in this offense. I think it's a way better situation than he was working with last year. even though they were 1-8 going into it. I think they're actually a pretty dangerous offense moving forward because of Kyler. Like last season, he had D-Hop missed the first half of the year. Brown and himself missed the last half of the year. The offensive line was in total shambles, and Kingsbury wasn't like necessarily the most locked in coach. Their GM wasn't a serious figure. Their owner isn't a serious figure. This year, like Petzing and Gannon, it's a better culture. Like the weapons with Michael Wilson and Marquise Brown and Trey McBride out there all at the same time, combined with the offensive line, it's just like maybe it doesn't have the star power that D-Hop gave them, but it's just, I think, better and a more consistent group of players around him with a scheme that honestly didn't look too different than what we're used to seeing with Kyler. Like plenty of opportunities for him to use his legs. He scrambled a lot. There were, like Jonathan Gannon said to Rondale Moore at the beginning of the year, like whoosh, 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 shots. Just a lot of aggressiveness down the field, and obviously connected with McBride late in the game. Yeah, it was Kyler being an athlete, showing off that arm, and overall, I thought was pretty accurate and made things happen.
It's pretty typical Kyler. I mean,
yeah. It was
he's right in
encouraging to
that
see
top
that he
10
has
conversation. People don't like to put him in there for some reason, whether it's, the height or the
because
game.
Cod came out this week.
He's
Matt,
not the only guy who games, man. There's other dudes
most
who
of them do
games. I'm sure like the majority of these dudes are playing a little bit of video games. What is it that kicked it off with him? I don't remember. I know there must have been something.
The homework clause. The homework clause was not a good look for him. In the contract,
the homework clause is tough.
Homework clause. No. That one maybe it deserved. The time on task for Kyler has been a legitimate thing that has followed him, I think, for a while. And I think when you listen to some of his former teammates talk, enough of them have said like Kyler needs to improve as a leader, that there's some legitimate questions. But man, like he's good. He's clearly a good quarterback. And when you put a good quarterback in a pretty good offensive infrastructure, and it's certainly not great, but it's better than what he's had, I think, when they were so bad last year and so disappointing last year. And his rookie year, he was rookie of the year. In 2021, he was an MVP candidate. And like, outside of last year, like he was a top 10 quarterback. So now that it's a new season and it's not a disaster, like that's the type of play that we should expect. And
absolutely.
Yeah. But you would have expected this kind of play out of Watson when he started, and you didn't get that.
Well, I think Kyler went through a normal like rehab where he ended up missing basically 1 year instead of two. And
right. No, I think the encouraging thing for Kyler is that the athleticism is still very, very there. I mean, he looks so.
He looks like the same
fat.
guy.
Yeah, he's like he hasn't skipped a beat at all. It's crazy.
And I feel like again the Cardinals have 2 wins, but they're a 2-win team that is obviously not that crazy far off.
Yeah, I think when you've got the Tommy DeVito offense out there, and then you look at where the Cardinals are at, I think it's going to be a tough. I think that it's going to play out nicely for them where they end up in Marvin Harrison range, and it would be great to get the first overall pick and be able to trade it or take whoever, but it also might be nice for them to. If like Kyler just looks like the future, they get like a normal high pick, they're able to take a huge difference maker somewhere else and just avoid the whole messy debate of like what to do and just like have a clear vision instead of this like big what if. Like that honestly might be a bit of a burden off their backs if they can get that done. But it's just the Falcons. So who knows? Maybe they'll fall off.
Yeah. They've got some winnable games, though, although I think you want to stay in Marv range if you can. I mean, that's...
I would be very interested in staying in Marv range.
In my honest opinion.
Where are the Packers at right now?
Dude, Marv...
The Packers would be in the playoffs right now if it was a 1-for-1 Christian Watson, Marvin Harrison. Like if you just traded those guys, the Packers would
call Ohio State. I'm sure
Ohio State would have 4 losses, man. We are not making that deal. Dude, he was just ridiculous, man. He is the best Ohio State receiver. He really is. And that's such a ridiculous bar to hit. I mean, you're sitting here with like these Michigan State corners one-on-one. It's like, dude, there's no chance they guard him. That slanting at, it's like, well, he's going to score here. You know it for a fact.
He's like a Justin Jefferson route runner, and then he's like AJ Brown at the catch point. Like, I don't know. And maybe that's hyperbole, but I don't know. He's open all the time and he catches everything. So it's like, what NFL player is open all the time and catches everything? Like, it's pretty lofty.
Yeah.
I guess he doesn't catch everything, but he's pretty gifted.
He
in terms
has
of
a little bit of a concentration drop problem, and he had one against Michigan State. It exists. I tweeted this out and people are like, what? Yes, that is his one problem. And it's not a big deal. It really isn't.
Yeah, it's nothing the defense can like do to stop him. Yeah. But anyway, Cardinals are third in the draft order right now. Chicago's number 1. The Giants are up to number 2 today. And then Arizona's sitting right there at number 3. And I think that's where they should aim to stay. Although New England might finish as worse than the Cardinals this year.
I think good Lord, their offense, man. It's just, we've talked about this before. I don't think we've mentioned the Patriots basically all year. Okay, well, they don't have a single difference maker on that offense. The quarterback play is like, we've seen some decent Mac Jones games before, so it's kind of like, well, maybe it's just the rest of the offense around him. And I'm confident that if you put him in a good offense, like he'd have more good games, obviously. Yes,
obviously.
But
he's not the solution. Like,
he's not how many quarterbacks in the NFL could you put on like the Bengals or a team that's like stacked receiver or whatever, like, or the Eagles offense, and they'd look like, okay, this guy's fine, plenty, you're not looking for that. And the interception that Mac Jones had at the end, I mean, it's just like, dude, what can you say?
Yeah, I didn't watch this game because
you didn't miss much, dude.
It's Colts Patriots, man. I'm not
waking up early.
10-6. Yeah, I was like, I got a life.
You got beauty rest to catch up on. Look, man, no one will blame you for not watching this one.
I saw that pick on Twitter, and it was maybe the worst throw I've seen all year.
It might be one. It might be, man. I mean, I just don't know how you could miss that badly when, sort of being like the accurate sort of like pocket passer, collected, maybe, not a creator at all type deal. That was your deal. This guy's a first round pick, and it just can't be that bad. And they throw in Zappy at the end. Okay. And the
yeah,
my favorite play of the year is the fake spike.
The fake spike was a
dude. It's the way that it
just
played
so
out
unnecessary
on the broadcast, where it's like fake spike. I love fake spike. That's got to be my favorite like trick play. Fake spike. He lets it rip, just triple coverage, intercepted, not even close. It's just such a funny way to go.
All the safeties were deep. And like they didn't give a shit about this spike. Like that didn't like bring them up like any crazy amount. And then they're like trying to go deep over the middle, and it's like there are several players still there. It's not this absolutely get out of jail free card to like fake the spike. The safeties weren't walking off the field, Zappy, after that. They didn't think it was a media timeout. I don't know.
Well, you got to really respect the receivers in that situation to bring anybody down enough, to make that work.
Yeah. I posted this tweet did really well. The 2021 quarterback class not living up to the hype. Trevor Lawrence has been good, but has yet to take that like step to being elite. Zach Wilson, horrible. Trey Lance played 4 games. Justin Fields shown flashes, but has not been able to be any sort of consistent. Mac Jones completely fallen off the cliff. I mean,
yeah, it's been a horrible class as a whole. I mean,
in the top 15, and how many?
Well, Lawrence is really good. I will.
Lawrence is really good.
Lawrence hasn't taken a leap to the MVP candidate, but like
right.
Lawrence,
he's still really good. He's like I think if you redid it, you would still take him number 1 overall.
Even in a stacked class, I think that's probably still
true. It was a stacked class. Every other pick in the top 20 is like
maybe Micah would go. Parsons, maybe
I could see Micah.
But I think it's
Jaguars
probably
would be any better off with Micah Parsons over Lawrence.
No.
In fact, I'm pretty confident that they would be worse off.
Yeah,
Lawrence is good. It's just the standard is actually, you know, and it's a high bar, but it's like, yeah, he should be an MVP candidate. That was the idea this year. And he was that type of prospect.
It has been disappointing. It hasn't been all his fault, but it has been disappointing. But going back to Mac Jones, like there was just his arm talent really showed through there. I mean, play action. There was a little bit of pressure, I'm sure. On the all-22, we'll see that flash of color in front of him that prevented him from wanting to step up. But you got to step up if you don't have the arm to like fade away and loft it over anybody. Like he faded away when he could have stepped up and maybe had to take a hit, but sometimes you got to do that. And it was just a total lollipop. And maybe the guy got a finger on it, but I don't think that he did. And just in general, like no separation the whole day, no pass protection the whole day either. Like on Twitter, I said they don't.
One good thing that they did, man. I mean, it's seriously the entire ran the ball offense from top to bottom.
They ran the ball well, I guess. But running with Ramondre and Zeke just won't. Like they're not Jonathan Taylor in 2021, where they're just could rip off a 60-yarder at any point, like Ezekiel Elliott.
Well, yeah, they run well in the sense that like they can stay ahead of the sticks, but that. Pulling off drives that way is pretty hard. You need to be
you need AP. You need AP. You need like I don't know, someone way more amazing than
Mac Jones until that final throw was like 80% completion percentage, like 9 yards an attempt almost. I think
he wasn't the problem until maybe that he was the problem in the red zone. He missed a corner route pretty badly, I believe, to Hunter Henry, like high and outside, that forced them to kick a field goal. And that last pick was bad. Before the pick, though, the main problem was that they just couldn't pass protect for absolute shit. Like DeForest Buckner went crazy, and just to give the Colts a little bit of credit, their pass rush isn't bad. Like they got Ebukam and Buckner who can really pin their ears back and do some stuff, but. They shouldn't be doing that to you. Like you shouldn't have 5 sacks in the first half or whatever it was. And really, even if the Patriots do get a guy like Caleb, I would be concerned because they're just so far away from getting like a capable, like a situation for any quarterback to thrive.
Here's
right
a real
now,
question.
Much less Mac Jones.
Are the Patriots a better situation than what Caleb Williams is in right now?
Like at USC?
Yeah.
The USC offense would get shredded in the NFL. I mean, they would get.
Do you mean relative to?
Relative to the.
Oh well, yes. I mean, duh. USC's offense is better in the context of the college football landscape than the Patriots' offense is in the NFL. I mean, the Patriots' offense is as bad as it gets. Their wide receiver 1 right now is Juju Smith-Schuster. He had less than a yard of separation on average today. Like
that's bad.
At least USC's offense has some draft picks. I don't think it's a perfect situation for Caleb down there, but damn, like if it's him or if it's May for the Patriots, it's like who do they have to throw to? Who do they have to pass protect for them? And who do they have making decisions and the offensive players to bring in that has a track record of like doing a good job right now? And they just gave Belichick this big extension. I think Belichick is still a good defensive mind, but like the offensive side of the ball is legitimately a fireable offense, but it's like, I don't know if they can do that. And they can't ask him to like, well, not be the GM anymore. Probably like, I don't know if he's willing to just give up power like that, but
yeah,
it's a total driftless, directionless team right now because the offense is just, the only building block is really Pop Douglas. Like Ramondre Stevenson and Trent Brown are good players, but the only like young, and even Pop Douglas is probably not ever going to be super dominant because of his size. Like there's just no one.
It's a brutal
It's like no one that would be a starter on the
existence.
Eagles, you know, like no one that's like a high end starter, you know.
No, and building that out is just going to take so long. I mean, it's where do you start? Even if you have a high pick, even if you go get a quarterback or Marv, yeah, I 100% agree, or Bowers or whoever.
It's probably going to have to be another offseason like the one they had a few years ago when they brought in Judon they
can be aggressive. They have a ton of money, actually. Like that offseason they had is kind of a little bit in the rear view mirror now, and many of those contracts were not that big, to be completely honest with you. They could go crazy if they wanted to, but do you have any faith in the Patriots to do a good job acquiring offensive talent and like free agency? No.
Yeah, because the last time they spent all that money in free agency, they got a bunch of mid players. So
yeah, Judon was nice, but they spent on Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, and it's like the 2 tight end scheme never worked out, and they brought in Kendrick Bourne. It's like, okay, if you spend money this time, just do it on T. Higgins and then wash your hands.
Do it on better players.
Good. Do it on players that are good, not players that are
if you're not
underrated or like film junkie favorites as much as
And if you're gonna sign mid players, then just sign Theo and I to be your receivers, and we'll put Matt at tight end, and it'll be Matt's gonna replace Judon. That's gonna be
get some pass rush moves.
So true.
The Colts. The Colts are, by the way, also in the playoff race, but I fear Gardner Minshew. This game should have been an annihilation because of how bad the offense for New England was playing. But like Minshew had a hilariously bad pocket presence game and was like just running around instead of
it's been a rough couple games for the Colts offense. It's not been. I mean, I know they put up 27 against Carolina, but they didn't really put up 27 against Carolina.
Kenny Moore put up 14 of those.
All right,
the Colts. The Colts are a team, I will say it, I'm actively rooting for them to lose some games because I just under no circumstances want to see them sneak into the wild card because when Richardson, I think Steichen is the right guy. I think Richardson is the right guy. Like Minshew is a decent backup. Pittman had some big moments today and the line has performed better. But man, it's just kind of a mid team all around. So sorry for making this more.
Yeah, I mean, if they had Richardson right now, I would feel pretty good about the Colts. And I said before the season, I thought they could be a playoff team.
You did kind of good.
But man, with Minshew, they're just not.
The ceiling is just so low. It's so low. But they're doing a good job keeping the ship, like winning games without Grover and winning games without Anthony Richardson, and Zaire Franklin is a dog. Kenny Moore is a dog. DeForest Buckner is a dog. I think we need to have a conversation about Shaq Leonard. I think
that's going to be an interesting offseason assessment. I think is what they want to do with Shaq going forward.
It's something that I was afraid of. He's a guy after watching film on him where it's like, man, he's just not quite the best moving around, like even before the injury. And he's not the most physical taking on blocks or in coverage. But he creates a turnover every other game. And when that's not happening and he has a bad back, like, he's not really much of a positive force for them anymore.
I fear.
No, not particularly.
If you're anything like me, trying to get last-minute tickets to see some of your favorite events, whether that be sports games, concerts, comedy shows, whatever, the best place to get those tickets is the Game Time app. Because whether you're trying to see Ohio State football or maybe you're trying to get ready for the college football playoffs, you don't want to be scrambling, trying to find the best seat. You don't want to be unsure of where you're going to be sitting. You don't want to be getting gouged out of crazy prices. So the best place to get last minute tickets at the best price, where you can even see a preview of your seats before you even buy them. The best place to do all of that is Game Time. So use the code BlaidenK. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets, download the Game Time app or go to gametime.co and use the code BlaidenK to get $20 off your first purchase. You're already getting the best price. You're already getting last minute tickets. Why not take an extra $20 off? Make your life a little bit easier. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use the code BlaidenK. That's BLAIDENK to get $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Well, we've got a couple more games to get through. First, Lions Chargers.
I was smiling through this whole game. This was a
galore.
Perfect Herbert has no help agenda game.
Not this again.
The Lions were putting up score after score. I'm like, let's go. Not his fault.
He does not have any help.
No, he doesn't. It's been my most fruitful agenda is
betting against all Chargers outside of Justin Herbert is extremely rewarding.
Except for Keenan. That guy is still extremely reliable. I'm sorry, Keenan, for calling you washed.
Where do I
still think that Tracy Porter, or not Tracy, number 31, the one who owns Aaron Rodgers, the safety, whose name I should remember because he's picked off my favorite team so many times. Yes, Tracy Walker. You got him confused. He got juked by Keenan Allen. I'm like, that shouldn't happen. But Keenan is still has made some just incredible catches this year. Like, he's still 6'3" and knows how to get open and has been able to make some crazy adjustments to the ball and had 100. He's had a couple of just gigantic performances this year. But I mean, outside of him, although I will say Quentin Johnston, best game of his career from the DPI alone. Gotta say that bailed him out several times
this year. He had some catches this game. He had a touchdown. Hey, touchdowns are great.
Herbert had offensive help this game. Obviously, they scored on almost every possession, after midway through the second quarter. So Palmer and Johnston and Keenan and the line really, they did a solid job. The Lions' top defense that existed at the beginning of the season may have been a bit of a mirage, but do you think Staley gets fired after this? I mean, to have the Lions score every single possession,
it
kind of felt
I'm
like
not confident in that. I mean, I think he's done after this year, no matter what.
Oh, I mean, do you think we see the news?
Do you think he's going to get fired tomorrow?
Do you think that it's an interim coaching next week versus the Packers? I hope not.
We know, Theo.
I don't.
No, I don't. I think a lot of this comes down to schedule with when these coaches get fired. I know that's kind of a cop out, but you think of Matt Rule's a good example. They had a really easy schedule to start off, didn't go well, done. The Lions are a tough team, and if you're the Chargers, there's not really what are you going to do with an interim head coach, right? Maybe it just doesn't feel although teams have gone on runs, maybe you feel like that's the time. But you got Packers next week, that feels like it should be a win. Then it's Ravens, and that'll be the game where it's
that's where you need to win against the Packers and then fire Staley. So you get the win and then the interim coach boost. You don't want to waste it against the Packers.
Because then it goes Patriots, Broncos, Raiders. And you've got 3 ones that hypothetically should be 4-1 in your next 5 games.
Okay, so here's the vision, right? We get the interim boost against the Ravens. So the Ravens drop a game. The Browns move to number 1 in the AFC North. And then the Chargers can go on a run, move to number 1 in the AFC West. We get a Browns-Chargers AFC Championship game. And
Wait, I'm confused. Where did the Browns come from?
When did they join this conversation?
They had a big win. I know they had a big win today, Blaiden. I know that you're dying to talk about them. But
let's get through the Lions and Chargers. But
no, I don't think you quite fire Staley. It's on the table. I mean, 41 points for a defensive mindhead. That's bad.
I think it could happen, dude. I don't know. The pass rush today, Goff had time to do basically whatever he wants. No one could cover Amon-Ra St. Brown. the 75-yard touchdown with Montgomery. I don't know how deep the safety was playing on that one, but didn't really offer much in terms of run support. Just
it was a bad day for the Chargers defense, man. I think that's a very valid take, and they can't run the ball at all either, and their weapons around. It's a lot of Herbert and not a lot of much else.
Yeah, they're a team where you can lock against them and win the lock. You know, Blaiden, you did that this week.
I did exactly that.
And you won. You know, it's a team that you can lock against, but 0 sacks for the Chargers today.
Yeah,
they weren't particularly
beat the Lions. If
they weren't getting pressure, you know, it's not like they were getting pressure. Just there was just nothing to make Goff uncomfortable over the course of this entire game.
There wasn't a lot of pressure overall, I felt like.
No, there wasn't. It was the defenses did not show up today for either side. No. And I think that's going to be something that kind of kills both of these teams in the end is the overall defense. I know the Lions made improvements. I know that Aiden Hutchinson is good and Ellie McNeil is good, but I just don't think they've got quite the horses.
Without a star defensively, it's gonna be
rough.
It's gonna be tough sledding, but still a very good team. They're 7-2 right now.
And their defensive coordinator needs to show me something here in terms of, I don't know, doing something. They came over from New Orleans last year. You know, it was just a lot of man when you didn't have the manpower, and they just got torched. And then, like, that was probably like, okay, you don't have any kind of revolutionary scheme. You haven't really developed any elite defensive talent. I don't know. We'll see.
It is interesting. They ran a lot of man last year, couldn't handle it. So their solution was just to bring in more good DBs, which is like not a bad solution. And I think it's been more effective this year. You're right, Theo. The defense just isn't that creative. It's like the most movement you see pre-snap is like,
this year they've actually made the big switch, and they are zone this year. But like last year they ran man, they got torched. This year, their zones aren't good. You know, it's not like these suffocating.
I feel like they don't disguise any. I feel like they don't disguise anything really.
Yeah, I don't think that they do anything that is. It's getting to be a conversation. I guess maybe it's maybe worth a full video to articulate the scheme, but.
I also think that they're kind of still in the process of growing into what they will be. I'm not saying I necessarily disagree, but you got to remember, you know, with the mindset of where they were coming from last year defensively, they're most certainly better, although they were very bad this game.
Yeah, I think the expectation is that they're a playoff. I think the expectation coming in is that they're a playoff team this year. Maybe not quite. Like they're a good playoff team, but maybe not quite a Super Bowl contender yet.
They are 6-2 though. They are 6-2, but defense.
7-2.
I mean, 7-2. Damn, yeah, that is pretty good. And they've gotten better under center. They have gotten better under center. They were pretty bad at that at the beginning of the year, which was supposed to be kind of their bread and butter. That you kind of had the Jahmyr Gibbs breakout campaign in the last game, and Montgomery has really, really been fantastic this season. So to have both of those guys running well. That hasn't been the case this whole year. And if they can start to really become a top rushing team again, I think that could change a lot of things for them. And they really have been that already. So it's nice to see that after kind of a slow start on that area of their offense.
Yeah. But if we want to move to the Little Caesars game of the week, again, going over to Little Caesars, get the Stay Hot meal. Surely it's real. I'm sure if you walk over to your nearest Little Caesars and ask for the Stay Hot meal, they will gladly.
They'll give you something hot. They'll give you something ready.
It'll be hot. It'll be ready just for you.
It may not be the Stay Hot meal as in we had creative control over the menu, but it will be a delicious hot pizza.
It will
So
be.
everything on their menu is the Stay Hot meal now.
Yeah, because it stays hot and it stays ready. But we're talking about Little Caesars game of the week, the Browns and the Ravens. I just want the good thing about some of these wins where we've had some ugly wins this year is that we are winning those ugly games. Minus the Steelers game. We didn't pull that one out. But the good side is that we're winning good God, do I have to feel a lump in my throat every single time?
That, you do. It's football, Blaiden.
Like, why do we have to trail for 58 of 60 minutes?
Because your quarterback didn't play very well in the first half and hasn't really played well.
Going down 14-0, a pick six on the second play, and then going 3 and out the following drive.
However, after that happened, they scored on almost every possession.
They did.
After that, and Watson did not miss a pass the entire second half.
True.
And I don't know, what did you think of how they pulled it out? Like, what did you learn about the Browns today, Blaiden? I think
what did I learn about the Browns? I thought they did a much better job this time around against Lamar Jackson than they did the last time. They didn't let him really step up into the pocket a whole lot, and when he did escape outside of the tackles, I thought they did a great job of not letting him take off and generate big plays with his legs. So we kept a lot of Lamar Jackson behind the line of scrimmage, and I thought that was a big improvement. And you're gonna get plays from Lamar, like he's top 5, top 3 quarterback maybe, but to avoid the giant plays that he can create both with his arm and with his leg, I thought was huge. And I thought it was something that we could have done a little bit better the last time we played. Offensively, Watson is at this point, I think, starting caliber. He's still not worth $230 million fully guaranteed, but I've seen more accuracy, just like hitting open guys with relative consistency. The evasiveness has kind of been there from day one. He still looks a little bit awkward when he breaks a tackle or when he runs for a first down, but he can do it. I thought he was a net positive as a runner today. The thing that I'm still looking for consistently is anticipation and pocket presence, because he had one time where they barely got away from a turnover. He got strip sacked by, I think it was Adafe Owe, who just came right around the edge, blew up our backup left tackle. I can't remember his name right now. And then Wyatt Teller fell on the ball, luckily, because Clowney was right there. Clowney would have taken that to the house, man.
He was oblivious on that one. And there were several plays where I thought, at the beginning at least, where there was an open read on, I think, a 3rd and 1. Like play action, you look in the flat, like it's right there for him, and he moves off of it and holds the ball and takes a sack. So that's all still there. But yeah, to have that 14 for 14 stretch, I don't think he's done that before. Like, I don't think he's done that.
No, he has
in any game since then. No.
So it's definitely moving in the right direction. But I'm still not ready to say that the offense is like here, that it's arrived, because you can't have the start that we did. Like that's not you're just not gonna win games consistently doing that, especially once the Bengals have been playing really well, and once we play them again, you can't start off a game like that. The Bengals will make you pay for it every single time.
One thing that I think was really interesting about this game was how the Browns outrushed the Ravens, despite the fact that they went down big early. The Ravens weren't able to do anything really between the tackles. Mitchell had a big run that developed outside, but really it was not a big Gus Edwards game at all, and they didn't run Mitchell between the tackles at all. They kind of used him as a weapon out on the perimeter.
Yeah,
and it's like, where is that? Like that kind of should be. I thought it really would be a great thing for the Ravens to go up early. Like I thought it was totally over because they could lean on that running game.
I thought it was over.
You're not letting Myles Garrett pin his ears back and pass rush, but they just never really committed to that, and they kept dropping back, and they let the Browns kind of run their way back into this game. So if you're the Browns,
this is weird. This is very I feel like this is very counterintuitive to what you would expect, not only just from the sake of you think of the Ravens as a run heavy team, but also because the Browns are kind of notorious for the run game's let's get away from the run game a little too. We talked a little bit about some of the Shanahan guys, they tend to do that. Stefanski's not immune to that trait either. So it was kind of refreshing to see them just lean on Ford a little bit, lean on Kareem Hunt, and they got it done.
And then so if you're the Browns, you got to be feeling okay, we can run it better than the Ravens can, and our defense is better. As good as Mike McDonald is, as well coordinated as they are, we have more difference makers on the team. And really, I thought the Ravens defense was pretty poor today. I mean, they started off so well, but the drives after that went field goal, punt, field goal, turnover on downs, touchdown, field goal. So that's after the first two, one scoring drive, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Was right before halftime, correct?
It was. That was the Hail Mary attempt. So if you after the first two drives, there was really one legitimate drive where the Browns didn't score points. It was all scoring drives after that. Long drives too. 49 yards, 70 yards, 33 yards. 17 plays, 75 yards.
That drive was crazy.
6 plays, 75 yards, 7 plays, 58 yards. So it's if you're this vaunted defense, why are you letting Deshaun, why are you letting the Browns offense, which has been one of the worst in the league, drive on you like this? And really this, they're a good defense, but they're a great defense. Even they're one of the top ones, but they're not quite, I think, Jets or Browns level where they're just one that will be remembered.
I don't even know. Years. I don't even know if, because they didn't do, I don't think, a bad job. I thought Marlon Humphrey generally was, when before he got hurt, I thought his coverage was pretty solid throughout.
Yeah, Hamilton was having a good game. Clowney was having a good game.
The pass rush was there. They sacked Watson 4 times. It's they didn't do a bad. Where they struggled was they couldn't stop the run. We just would march down the field just running the ball. So I don't know. I almost wonder if a lot of their success defensively just comes from their guys are able to kind of if they can get up early, they can just let their pass rushers pin their ears back and get after it. But that leaves you vulnerable to the run. So I almost wonder if that's what's happening, but I wasn't keen.
Yeah, we'll have to check the film. Obviously on Sunday, it's tough to tell with multiple games going on, and it's the broadcast angle. Exactly, you're flipping in between. So it's all generalizations on the Sunday night records. But it was an unexpected. It was the type of performance that we never saw from the 2000 Ravens, and that's kind of the pace they were on. Going into this week was
that's a tall task.
It is a tall task to maintain that, and this week they just couldn't quite do it. Not that they are still a great defense. I shouldn't say that they're not living up to. I would put them as the third best defense in the league right now, probably, but behind the Jets. And I think the Jets are peak, and I think the Browns are peak, and I think the Ravens and Chiefs are very good, and I think the Cowboys and 49ers are pretty good as well.
I think that's a good tiering.
Yeah, I don't think I'm snubbing anybody too bad.
I'm trying to think. Maybe you can put Pittsburgh in that mix too.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh's got a nice defense. Bengals got a nice defense, although it had a tough day today against Stroud VP, but
the Seahawks could have a nice defense, but they haven't had a nice defense and have generally been pretty mid recently. So I can't. Eventually,
Seahawks,
I have to stop.
The Seahawks defense, if they were good, is like way up there for sure.
The defense has I think any week the Seahawks could be an elite defense, but they
got a lot of guys. I'll give you that. They got a lot of guys on that defense, but it just doesn't all come together quite, you know?
No, it doesn't. I think their pass rush still has been a little bit, I don't know. They weren't able to get to Howell today, which you should be able to do. And I think Howell has been able to get the ball out a lot better recently. Like the historic sack pace that he was on, 100 sacks, is probably not coming to fruition. So they've done a good job getting that down to a manageable number. And Howell's been good. Like he's been able to break structure and create out a. He's not like necessarily super inaccurate or super interception prone, and he's
the 4th and 1 completion to
he's a
Terry,
big play
I
threat.
Was very.
So if he's not getting sacked all the time, like what you're left with is someone who maybe isn't perfect and maybe could still be, hold the ball too long and jittery in the pocket. But I was pretty impressed with his performance today.
When he gets the ball out of his hands, he's pretty good. We are talking about a guy who had a fumble and was sacked 3 times still. And that's like, hey, pretty good job.
There was a point this year that he got sacked 5 times and his sack rate went down. So 3 is way better than he was like early in the season. Like 3 is like a normal amount at least, I don't really know. Maybe that'll be another thing to look at this week is like, why is Seattle so like mid recently? I know Geno hasn't been the greatest and they played some tough teams, but like looking at a lot of the numbers, the Seahawks over the post September have been almost a below average team. And so today really didn't do too much to convince me that they're actually these sneaky contenders like I thought they'd be, but
they're better on paper than they actually are, and that is something worth investigating for sure.
It is, but they did win today, so
they did win. Yeah, we're being haters. They did win, and it's the NFL. It's not easy, and the Commanders are far from.
This is what I'm talking about with the Commanders, man. I don't know why they traded Sweat. I know that I just shit on Sweat, but like those two could have made a difference today. Like they blew it up right at the.
I would have traded Sweat and kept Young.
I guess that was my main Sweat for a second. That's something you should do.
I actually think you cannot give.
I think that's
40% of your salary cap to your defensive line, no matter how good they are. It's just a tough way.
Especially when Sweat and Young are like not quite.
They're not
40% of your team. They're not tier 1 guys. No. But Young, I think they should have kept around because like they could have so easily drawn back to 500 in a NFC that is looking very open, and we'll see if the Vikings never let go of that 7 seed. That's a game that I didn't pay too close of attention to today, but it looks like Dobbs is continuing to make huge plays. Like I said on Twitter, he seems to have unlimited endurance through the course of a play. Like he just never gets tired, no matter how far he runs or how many tackles he breaks. He's still like,
man. He just wants it more.
He might be the NFL player I'd bet on to win like a 5K. Like enough of this 40-yard dash nonsense.
We're gonna NFL, hear us out. We want to do a charity marathon where
Dobbs might win.
Every player could be a marathon.
Everyone else has to just run laps around the track. Like that's what the quarterbacks have to do all day while the defensive linemen are working out.
Yeah, defensive linemen are on the sled and quarterbacks have to run a marathon.
It's like I see visions of 2017 with this Vikings team. You got the blitz heavy defensive coordinator. You've got the receiver duo. You've got the backup quarterback coming in. You've got the I guess that team. Did that team have Dalvin Cook? No, that team had like Latavius Murray. Did they not?
Did they?
It's literally the same script. No, I don't think Dalvin was a big part of the 2017
When did they trade?
Vikings.
They didn't trade away Diggs until like 2 or 3 years later.
No, on that team.
They definitely had Diggs on that team.
I believe they famously had Diggs on that team.
No, I'm saying after, because I'm trying to think about what happened.
That wasn't his last year.
No, he was back for a while after that. But Dalvin was on the team. That was just the year he got hurt. So it was Jet McKinnon and Murray, and now it's Ty Chandler, and it's literally the exact same shit. It's the exact same fucking team. So what does it mean?
Bar for bar.
It means that we're getting the Jaguar. We're getting a Jaguars Patriots AFC Championship game.
Oh my god.
We're getting the Eagles
the Patriots come from? Back
in the Super Bowl. The Marcus Mariota's going on a Cinderella run.
It's all coming
the
together.
Saints better prepare themselves.
We're gonna get it's gonna be Addison sideline.
It kind of would be on brand this year if it's kind of a repeat of the Keenum Bortles, the graphic from the 2017 year of people.
Yes.
It was Foles, Bortles, Keenum, and Brady. With all the quarterback injuries this year, like maybe we could get.
Well, hold on.
Dobbs.
We could get Dobbs, PJ Walker, Zach Wilson. If the
we
Jets
could get Dobbs, we could get Pickett. We could get Carr. And I'm not gonna say
Brady could be anybody.
And then and then we can have then we get one freebie, and then Patrick Mahomes. There you go.
Yeah, we need a Mariota again, because the Eagles could be very good even if Hurts goes down, because the offense is still good. With McKee.
Oh my god.
McKee. Shout out. He's
McKee, Dobbs. And then it's PJ Walker after the Browns defense carries them to the championship game where they play Mahomes. And that's how we get the 2017 script back on track.
Yeah, because Watson gets hurt like twice a game at this rate.
That was a good year, though. That was a good playoff.
Oh, yeah.
So if we could get 2017, that would be fire. Even if
the Eagles won the Super Bowl that year. So
if they were running that script
that was an all-time Super Bowl. That was a great one.
That was a great Super Bowl.
So I guess if you're doing the sequel, you got to do a sequel if the original is so good.
Got to do a sequel, man. But that means the sequel will be worse. The sequels are never good.
because the Browns are involved in our headcanon.
Oh,
that's what makes it worse.
It doesn't get much worse than that.
Man.
And maybe the Vikings will win this time. The Vikings will not get blown out by the Eagles and actually pull
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine Dobbs
twist.
beating the Eagles in the playoffs? That would be awesome. No hate Eagles. I mean, I have nothing against them. I like them, but
we're going to get a Vikings 49ers NFC championship game.
Dobbs kicks ass, man. I love him. I know that's like a very basic take. I know everybody likes him, but for good reason, dude. It's just cool.
Oh, yeah.
One thing, going back to the Washington, they have 1 sack for 0 yards their last 2 weeks without Young and Sweat. And it's something to monitor how they still have some guys, obviously. How badly did they blow up the pass rush just now? That second, third, they're probably going back to the well to try to get some more pass rushers now.
Probably pretty bad.
It's probably pretty bad.
Yeah.
Probably disaster.
Maybe Jamin Davis can turn into a demon blitzer, but he's that kind of athlete that maybe he could be really effective.
He will be the next Jordan Brooks, I fear.
The Washington defense has been one of the big disappointments this season, even with Sweat and Young. It was so bad before, and Forbes is just having such an atrocious rookie year. Forbes is having the worst rookie year I can remember. Every time he's on the field, he gets torched. It was especially what really sealed it was the Eagles game a couple weeks ago, because he was benched, right? And they put him, but he still saw the field for a couple of reps. Who knows why? You got to get him involved somehow, or certain packages, giving guys a break. Anytime he was on the field, AJ Brown dunked on him. He was on the field 2 snaps. He allowed 30 yards of coverage snap. And then today he gets ejected. So
is there a rookie, like not rookie of the year?
He is definitely not rookie of the year. Him and
it's tough, man.
It is tough. It is tough.
Yeah.
I sure am glad I don't have to guard AJ Brown. I think about that every single week. I don't know if you guys do, but I'll be sitting on my couch. I'll be like, dude, that would suck. I mean, it'd be cool to be in the NFL, but it'd really suck to have to guard AJ Brown right now. I'd rather,
I don't know how these guys do it. The mental toughness needed is so crazy to be in a stadium of people, and
I'd lose my mind immediately.
When your failures are so public, like I do things as an analyst where if I was under the scrutiny of an NFL anything, I would be fired immediately. Like they'd see me. I identify that, like, obviously I'm not at the caliber of any NFL player in my field, unfortunately. Yeah. Like I thought about it with Mac Jones today. Like the whole world just knows you're about to be benched, and like he's just like cameras on him on the sideline. How do you deal with it?
Do you think us three, we could have made that throw?
No, I don't think that we could have come close.
Dude, I mean, I'm all for joking.
Doug,
I think it's so funny to be like, dude, I could do that. I love doing that.
No, I literally do that all the time.
Blaiden, your throw style is literally underhand sidearm.
Okay, but it gets there.
It would have gotten batted at the line. It gets there on 4-on-4 flag. You're not getting a throw off, dude.
It's getting there. Trust me, man.
I think I would knee immediately.
Philip Rivers would throw like that.
Do you think you could execute the play action properly?
Nope.
No, you couldn't.
I think I would like.
Yes. How do you do it? Okay. How do you do that? What's the footwork?
Let's say your strategy would just be to like spike the ball immediately. Like, let's say you got into an NFL game. You're against the Patriots, or you are the Patriots, we'll say, right? Yeah. You're in that situation. And everyone's watching you. It's like the internet's going like, dude, Theo Ash is in at quarterback for the Patriots. Dude, they've got Blaiden Kirk out there. Would you try, or would you just be like, fuck this? I'm going to look dumb no matter what I do. I'm just kneeing it out and being like, there's no shot.
Nah, bro. Me personally, I'm becoming Josh Dobbs.
Maybe you could do it if you like knew. Maybe if you like, I don't even think it would work, but if you somehow were in that situation and you knew like they're going to bite on the play action, Gesicki is wide open, all I need to do is put it up. But if you have to like, and if it's like just that, man. I don't think I would do it even still, but like maybe you'd have a chance if you like knew it. If you just were in the huddle, you got the play call, had to line up under center, like look at the defense and make sure you're good. Like, think about what could happen to you. Think about what all the, like, I get a delay of fucking game. Like, I would not.
The thing that would mess me up the most is like receiving the play call in the headset, because it's like,
no, that wouldn't mess you up the most.
Yes, it would.
Well, everything would mess you up. I think
you receive the super long play call in like 15
DeForest
seconds.
Buckner would mess you up the most.
Relay it to everyone else.
You'd literally be sitting. You'd have no fucking idea what is going on. You'd be reading the defense. You'd be like
running away from DeForest Buckner.
You have no feel for the game, so like you might do the play action, but you're not like reading the light. Like you'd have no fucking idea what's going on up there. Like you'd be like, is this good enough? Is this enough depth to? And I have a way worse arm than Mac Jones, so by the time the ball gets there, it's probably a jump ball. Like even if I miraculously snap the football, successfully execute the play action, the linebackers have bitten. It's like it's probably like still a duck in the end zone, because I'm like, I don't know. I'm not accurate. Like if I was gonna throw it like as hard as I could, like that ball could probably go just about anywhere. Like I can't.
Yeah.
Like it would go hilariously bad. Like any of us doing anything on a football field.
My natural position is receiver. So really what I should do is I should replace Quentin Johnston so that the Chargers have some real help for Justin Herbert.
You're not drawing DPI, man. You're getting jammed at the line.
Brother, they don't know who I am.
That's exactly the problem. You're not on the scouting report because you're just a normal fucking guy. Anyway, anything else? I don't have anything else to say tonight.
We could not be NFL quarterbacks. Not even.
But
we can
critique. But we can still critique Mac Jones because most NFL quarterbacks could do that. So
fair enough. But no, I don't have anything else. So
I don't either.
Hey, for those that made it this far in the episode, you should tune in to two things before the next episode. The first is our Little Caesars Monday Night Football live stream. We'll be watching the Bills versus the Broncos, probably just about the first half or so. And Matt's lock is on the line here. Either he continues to build on his lead or I tie him up. Those are the only possibilities. So we'll be watching that. And then Tuesday, we'll be doing another live film breakdown of another upcoming potential NFL draft prospect, which Theo will have the tape, and we'll just be going through a single game. So you should tune into both of those things. They'll be live on YouTube. Yeah. And then until the next episode, thank you all for tuning in. Been an absolute blast. And we will catch you on the flippity flop.